what I thought it was. It ain't the flu. It's the other thing. I don't think I've ever felt this bad in my life. I guess, I don't know. Alright, so I'm home. Not feeling too much better, but I needed to get out of that bed because I feel like that bed is going to suck the life out of me. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to give you a review of the whole process of getting to the hospital and what the hospital was like for me, in my opinion, being a healthcare professional of the hospital. I called security here at my Pravada and I asked them to call me an ambulance. And I told them that I wanted to go to Star Medica. And they sent me a message back maybe about 5 minutes later, and they said the ambulance would be 1,000 pesos, which is about $52 or something. So I said, okay. So the ambulance arrived about 45 minutes later, so total, say 50 minutes for the process. And it was the driver and a female in scrubs, I guess she was the paramedic, that arrived. Professional looking ambulance. They put me inside and she took my vital signs. They didn't speak English, so she tried her best to use translation to ask me if I had any allergies and what medications I took. She tried to ask me, did I have like a previous medical history, but I just was feeling too bad to be sitting there trying to do all that translation. So she left that alone. They got me to the hospital. They took me straight into their ER and into a room, into, where they curtain you off. And it kind of reminded me of more like an urgent care than an emergency. And the reason why I say that is because I don't see that place doing anything seriously emergent. They seem very low level, more urgent care type situation. But the monitors, like where they would hook you up to monitors and stuff, was just like a little portable unit that they use like on the floors in some hospitals or urgent care. They weren't, into the walls like a regular ER would have. They did have oxygen in the walls because they gave it to me, as you saw. So the doctor, he spoke pretty fairly good English, and he came in, he checked me out, he took what medications I took, et cetera, et cetera. He said he was gonna get a CT scan of my lungs. They came and they took me to the CT room fairly quickly to have a CT done, and that was professional. I did ask, you gotta ask, I asked first before they did anything, how much is this gonna cost? Because you're paying out of pocket, and they do take your identification card and they don't give it back. If you leave, you ain't leaving with that ID card, okay? I had the CT, got back in the bed, and I asked, he said he was gonna do some blood work. They came in, I asked for Tylenol, okay? He was like, okay. So when the guy came in to do the blood work, he came in with a tray, a rolling cart with all the tubes of blood and the IV to set up to start me on an IV. And I am pretty much in and out of falling asleep, okay? Because I had pretty high fever. So when he stuck me with the IV, it hurts. I woke up and I looked. This man ain't got no gloves on, okay? When he was taking the blood, he was just opening the tube top and letting the blood run out of the IV. He was just holding it up under there with his hands, just letting the blood run in the tube. And then he would cap the tube and put it down and then do the same thing. But he did 4 tubes of blood like that. And I'm thinking, where is your gloves? You don't know what I got. I don't have anything, but you don't know if I do or not. Where's the universal precautions? You know, the blood precautions, right? So you hook me up. You suspect COVID. Ain't none of y'all got no mask on. Or you would think they would put a mask on at that point, but and no gloves. So then I asked for Tylenol again because I'm thinking you ain't bring me no Tylenol. So no, he hooked the IV up. I fell back asleep. So when I woke back up, when somebody came in there to do something, I don't know what it was, I asked for the Tylenol, and they like, you getting Tylenol? I'm like, what? I'm thinking, they bring you 2 tablets and some water in the ER. I've never had it any other way. I turn around and I look, and there's the bag of, it's not even a bag of fluids, it's a plastic bottle, not unlike the US. And then there's a piggyback glass bottle. And they're like, that's the Tylenol. And I'm like, how much freaking Tylenol is y'all giving me? Y'all, this bottle was like this big. I don't know, that's probably like a 8-ounce bottle of liquid. And I'm thinking, what the hell? What kind of Tylenol is that? So I don't understand that. Why are you giving me IV Tylenol? I've never in my life had that. So those were kind of like the 2 things that were concerning me. One, off the bat, is you taking blood and everything else with no gloves. And the only monitor I was hooked up to was the pulse oximetry to monitor my respiration or my oxygen level. I guess it must have went low because they woke me up to put the oxygen on, so it must have dipped really low while I was asleep. Sometimes that's normal. They didn't give me any breathing treatments or anything to help. They didn't ask. They didn't offer. Prior to having the CAT scan, the doctor told me that the CAT scan and the lab work would be about 17,000 pesos. He didn't tell me, and I didn't ask because I wasn't thinking, you're sick, How much was the cost for being in the ER going to be, seeing the doctor? So he came and they did the COVID test. They tested me for the flu because he told me that's what he pretty much assumed that I had. He came and he told me that I had COVID. And he said, I want you to talk to the specialist. So they wanted to get, because I had stomach problems, they wouldn't give me enema. So this lady come in with that and a diaper, and she's like, I'm gonna put this diaper on you. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not about to give me no enema, and I'm about to do it in no diaper. I'm going to the bathroom. Thank you. So she was like, I have to ask the doctor. Go ask him then, because, So I went to the bathroom. They let me, with COVID, just walk on into the bathroom. They weren't concerned whether I had a mask or not. I did, but they weren't concerned about that. Because as a matter of fact, I think when they put the oxygen on, they took the mask off. So when I went to the bathroom, I did not have the mask on. I didn't realize until I got back. And I'm in the bathroom that all the other patients would go in and use. When I went to the bathroom on my way out, he stopped me at the monitor and he says, let me show you your CAT scan. So he's flipping through the CAT scan and he's seeing this. He's like, all of that is COVID setting up in your lungs. into like a pneumonia. He said, now I'm afraid you may get worse, so I want to keep you. So I'm thinking, okay, fine. I would rather stay here than get worse. And I said, for how long though? He said, no, just one day, put you in just to monitor you, give you, keep giving you Tylenol and things. I said, okay. So then this guy comes in looking like a used car salesman, talking like a used car salesman, no white coat on, no scrubs on, no nothing, no doctor appearance, just his street clothes. And, he spoke fairly good English, I guess, but he was trying to tell me that he wants to put me in the hospital and give me remdesivir, which is right now the top line treatment for COVID. When you may have a pre-existing condition that may put you more at risk for developing more severe COVID. He says you need to be in the hospital for 5 days. And I said, well, how much all this gonna cost? He said, well, it's $3,000 for the medication. He's like, and then you have to pay for everything else, the hospital, the doctors, the food, every, how they bill you, every little thing. I'm like, I can't, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Well, he said, okay. He said, well, I'm gonna give you these prescriptions. And he gave me the name of another antiviral to get. And even with the remdesivir, this is weird. Even though you're in the hospital, they want you to call the medication representative, and then somebody has to go pick it up for you and bring it to the hospital. And he asked me, well, do you have any family? No, I don't. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you because you need to call and set this up yourself. He said, I'm gonna give you these prescriptions, and this is what he gave me. These are my prescriptions, okay? And he wrote all this out. This is what he wrote out, okay? But he said that's gonna be about $400. And then so I Googled it, and apparently this medication is really not even on the recommended list of medications to take for COVID. It happened to be something in Japan that they thought might be effective at one time, and then Japan determined it really wasn't, so they just donated it to a bunch of other countries that basically had nothing. So they would have at least something, even though it wasn't really that effective. But yeah, so I decided against that one too. They were like, okay, you go home. So I'm waiting like, well, somebody got to come take this IV out. So I'm waiting. I waited about an hour, and I pulled the curtain back and I looked and I told the nurse, I pointed, like, can somebody come take this out? And so the guy turns to me and he's like, you gotta go pay. And I'm like, what? I gotta go pay to take the IV out? And then I'm like, okay. So I sit back on the bed. By then I fell back asleep. I woke back up, nobody. I went back outside, and I try to be really, really nice, but when I'm not feeling well, especially, and when I don't feel like you're doing your job, and I see all of y'all back there on Instagram or whatever y'all doing in this big crowd behind the desk chit-chatting, what is taking so damn long? Because now I'm ready to go and get in my own bed. So I say it again, and still, they kind of ignore me, like, okay. So finally, the girl comes and pulls the IV out. After that, this is about maybe 20 minutes later, and the guy comes with the wheelchair, takes me to the front to the cashier, and she has all the paperwork prepared, and she says, I need your identification. Well, they never gave me my ID card back. So the guy that pushed the wheelchair went in the back, and he asked the doctor for his notes and my ID card. So the doctor comes out, and he's like, what do you need? And I said, I need my ID card, and I need your notes. He says, okay, I'll be right back. So then he came back with both. I paid. When I didn't pay attention, I just paid. It was 2 different charges, and they made me pay them separately. So I didn't even get a receipt for the ambulance for that 1,000 pesos. And my first bill that she charged me, 2,500 pesos. So that was for, okay. Those are the doctor costs, 2,500 pesos. And then the hospital bill was 16,875 pesos. Okay, I'm back in the bed. So what I was saying about the cost is they charged me for a urine sample that I did not give. They didn't ask for one. So that was about 100 pesos, which is like $5, but $5 to me is $5. So yeah, I don't know what the hospital stay would have been like. I do like that the one doctor, the first one that I saw, was very nice. He spoke very good English. None of the nurses spoke English. Nobody spoke English. Well, the cashier did. Now, I forgot to add that not only did the lab tech drawing the blood not wear gloves, but the nurse that came and pulled the IV out didn't wear gloves either. So I don't know in Mexico if they have the same universal precaution standards as we do in the US, but that's concerning because that, universal precautions say you treat everyone as if they have some type of communicable disease. And when there's blood and body fluid precautions, as in hepatitis, as in HIV, things like that, you wear gloves. You don't assume somebody doesn't have it. You assume everybody has it. That way you're protected. So I don't know what their medical standards are here in Mexico, but in some situations, to me, that can be concerning. Imagine your surgeon doing surgery without gloves. If you don't have universal precautions at the basic level, how do I know that you have them at the higher level? How do I know that you have the same standards with instrument cleaning? Your quality control standards, what are they? So that really concerns me, because usually when a company, a hospital, has universal precautions in place, that is hospital-wide. Housekeepers, dietary, everybody wears gloves. So I'm kind of really concerned about that here, as far as any future emergency care, which I hope to hell I never need, okay? This review is not to bash the hospital, but basically to tell it like it is, like I see it, from my opinion as a healthcare professional. And it is what it is. I mean, if some of it's negative, it's because that's what it is. It's negative. So they have other private hospitals here in Merida. Private hospitals, of course, are going to tend to be more expensive. I do know that if I do need to go back to the emergency room, I will probably try another hospital just to see the difference. Mainly because, like I said, this just seemed very basic. Like, an urgent care. Like if you had if you coded in there, they don't seem like they what they gonna do? It didn't seem like they probably would be looking like, what do we do? I didn't see a crash cart. I mean, I understand keeping the costs low and not having super fancy everything. So, all kind of super technologically advanced machines, and maybe they figure the portable, what we call them Dynamaps, the portable Dynamap um, will do. That's the little thing they roll with your temperature, the blood pressure, and the little finger thing. Is that sufficient? It may be, but what if you need to be hooked up to a monitor? Where that at? Other people may have had different experiences, but this was my experience and I wanted to share it with you. Like I said, the ambulance took about 45 minutes to get here. I'm in Concal. I don't know what the traffic was like at that time. But being in Concal and the traffic doesn't necessarily matter, because you could be in Merida and just on another part of Merida and the traffic can be just as bad, so it could still take that long. So I really don't know if that's normal, and it was just depending on the time of the day, uh, depending on what type of emergency they thought it was. Maybe if I had told security I'm having a heart attack, maybe they'll got here faster. Or, I fell and broke my leg, fell down the steps and broke my leg or something. I don't know. I did not tell security what was wrong. I just said, I need you to call an ambulance and take me to the hospital. I hope this was helpful to you. I'm sorry that I am talking really slow and broken, and this may seem like a long video, but I can't do no better right now, guys. But I wanted to get this out to you and give you my firsthand account of what it's like going to the emergency room in Merida, Mexico. So until we meet again, guys, and I hope we do meet again. I hope I don't get worse. Keep moving. Bye, y'all.